I pulled into my driveway and heard it before I saw it. The roar of an excavator, the beep of a truck backing up. My garden was gone. Not trimmed, not renovated. Gone. Where my grandmother's rose bushes had stood for 20 years, there was now a pit. A massive hole in the ground, dirt piled 8 feet high along the fence, and standing in the middle of the wreckage, supervising 2 workers in hard hats, was my mother-in-law. She waved at me, actually waved, like she was greeting me at a barbecue. "Surprise?" she called out. "You're going to love this. We're putting in a pool. Property value is about to double." I sat in my car, engine still running, hands on the wheel. I should have screamed, should have called the cops right then. I didn't. Because in that moment, watching her smile in the ruins of my garden, I realized something. I had paperwork she'd never seen, and I was going to let them finish every single inch of that pool. Where are you watching from? And what time is it there? Drop a comment and hit that like button, because you're going to want to see how this ends. Let me back up. 3 years ago, my grandmother passed away. Cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. She left me her house. Just me, not my husband, not his parents. Me. It was a small 2-bedroom cottage on half an acre, 20 minutes outside the city. The kind of place people dream about retiring to. But the real treasure was the garden. Grandma had spent decades on it. Heirloom roses, vegetable beds, a stone path she'd laid herself, 1 rock at a time. When she died, I couldn't let it go to strangers. So I kept it. I took a week off work and planted new roses in her memory. I pulled weeds. I cried in the dirt. My husband Daniel supported me. His parents? Not so much. At the funeral, my father-in-law asked, "So what are you going to do with all that land?" At Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law said, "It's such a waste. You could put in a patio. Maybe a pool." I smiled. I nodded. I ignored it. I'm a paralegal. I've worked in real estate law for 7 years. I know how to read a deed. I know what sole ownership means, and I keep everything. Emails, texts, contracts, deeds, all of it, organized in a file cabinet in the den. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. Not until the day I came home to dirt and diesel. 2 weeks before the excavator showed up, Daniel's parents invited us to dinner. Nothing unusual. We went over once a month. But halfway through the meal, my mother-in-law, Linda, pulled out a folder. "We have something exciting to share," she said. She slid architectural drawings across the table. A backyard pool, in-ground, kidney-shaped, tile samples clipped to the corner. "We've decided to retire early," Linda said. "We want to spend our summers somewhere peaceful. And we thought, why not make your place the family gathering spot?" I stared at the drawings. "You want to build a pool," I said slowly. "In my backyard." "In our son's backyard," Linda corrected. "Technically." My stomach dropped. Daniel shifted in his chair. He didn't correct her. His father, Ron, pulled out contractor bids. 3 of them. Printed, highlighted, ready to go. "We've already talked to a few companies," Ron said. "We can break ground next month. It'll be done by summer." I put my fork down. "No," I said. Linda laughed. "Honey, we're not asking you to pay for it. We'll cover the cost. It's an investment in the property." "That's my garden," I said. "The answer is no." The table went silent. Linda's smile didn't move. "We'll talk to our son about it." She said it like I wasn't even there. We left 10 minutes later. Daniel didn't say a word the whole drive home. That's when I knew. I came home from work on a Tuesday. The gate was open. There were 2 trucks in the driveway, an excavator on a trailer, and 4 men in neon vests walking the yard with measuring tape. I got out of the car, and that's when I saw them. My roses in a dumpster, roots still attached. Dirt clumped around them like they'd been ripped out in a hurry. "Excuse me," I shouted. One of the workers looked up. "You the owner?" "Yes," I said. "What are you doing?" "Pool installation. We've got a signed work order." He handed me a clipboard. There it was. Daniel's signature at the bottom. Not mine, just his. I felt my hands start to shake. "Where is he?" I asked. The worker shrugged. "Don't know, ma'am. We just dig where we're told." That's when Linda stepped out from behind the truck. "Oh, good, you're home," she said brightly. "We wanted it to be a surprise, but Daniel gave us the gate code this morning. Isn't it exciting?" I couldn't breathe. She walked past me, directing the crew toward the back corner of the yard. "Don't make a scene," she said quietly as she passed. "This is family business." I went inside. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I opened my file cabinet. The property deed was in the top drawer, right where I'd filed it 3 years ago. I pulled it out and read it again, even though I'd memorized every word. Sole owner, my name, no one else's. Daniel wasn't on the title. We'd talked about it when Grandma died. He'd said he didn't need to be. It was my inheritance. My name was enough. I took a photo of the deed with my phone. Then I opened my laptop and emailed my old boss, Catherine. She's a real estate attorney. We'd stayed in touch after I left the firm. I kept it short. Hypothetical question. If someone authorizes construction on a property they don't legally own, what happens? She replied in 10 minutes. Not hypothetical, is it? If they're not on the deed, they can't authorize work. That's trespassing and property damage. You have grounds for an injunction and full restoration costs. Do you need a referral? I sat back in my chair. I could have walked outside right then. I could have stopped the crew. Called the police. Shut it all down. I didn't. Because I wanted them to finish. I wanted Linda and Ron to spend every single dollar they'd budgeted, every cent of that contractor's invoice. And then I wanted them to lose it all. So I closed the laptop, and I let them keep digging. Over the next 3 weeks, I watched the pool go in, foundation poured, plumbing installed. Tile work started. Linda and Ron were there almost every day, supervising, tweaking, choosing paint colors for the deck. They brought over furniture, a gas grill, lounge chairs with cushions that matched the tile. It stopped being a construction site. It started looking like their backyard, and then Linda posted about it on Facebook. The photo showed her and Ron standing beside the half-finished pool, arms around each other, smiling. The caption read, "So blessed to have family who share what they have. Our new summer retreat is coming together beautifully." She tagged Daniel. She tagged me. Within an hour, 20 people had commented. Cousins, aunts, old family friends. "Gorgeous! You two deserve this. Can't wait to visit." I took screenshots of every single comment. Daniel saw the post at dinner that night. He looked at me across the table. "Just let it go," he said quietly. "It's already done." "It's not done," I said. "They spent $58,000, he said. "What do you want me to do, make them rip it out?" I didn't answer. 2 days later, at a family barbecue, Ron pulled me aside. "You know," he said, "inheritance law can be tricky, especially when someone isolates a vulnerable elder before they pass." It wasn't a threat. It was worse. It was a preview. I smiled. I served lemonade. I took more pictures, and I counted my receipts. I did something I'm not proud of. I went digging. I pulled up the county's online permit portal and searched my address. 0 results. No permits. No applications. Nothing. They'd built an entire in-ground pool without a single piece of paperwork. I called the county code enforcement office. "I'd like to report unpermitted construction," I said. The inspector came out 2 days later. He took one look at the pool, checked his tablet, and wrote up a violation on the spot. The contractor got fined $1,500. Work stopped immediately. But that wasn't the best part. I also ran a public record search on Ron. It's easier than people think. Loan documents are public if you know where to look. And there it was. A home equity line of credit. $58,000. Opened 1 week after that dinner. Ron had taken out a loan against his own house to pay for this pool. He was betting that I'd either give in or that they could force me to sell the property and split the money. They'd gambled everything, and now the county had shut them down. The pool was half finished. The tile only went halfway around. There was no water, no pump, just an empty concrete pit, and I still hadn't made my real move yet. I needed to understand why. Why push this hard? Why risk everything? The answer came from an unexpected source. Daniel's sister Melissa called me. We'd always gotten along, but we weren't close. "Can we meet for coffee?" she asked. I met her the next day. She didn't waste time. "They're broke," she said. "Mom and Dad. They lost everything in that franchise deal 2 years ago." I remembered. Ron had bought into some boutique fitness chain. It went under in 18 months. "They declared bankruptcy last year," Melissa said. Chapter 7. 120,000 in discharged debt. My chest tightened. "They were planning to move in with you," she continued. "The pool was just step 1. They figured once it was built, they'd have sweat equity. Then they'd push Daniel to let them stay temporarily, then permanently. And eventually, they'd guilt you into selling so they'd have a place to live or cash to split." She looked down at her coffee. "Mom told me last week," she said. She'll never actually kick us out. We're family. I sat there, silent. It wasn't about the pool. It was never about the pool. It was about control. About taking what they thought I didn't deserve. I thanked Melissa. I drove home. And now I knew exactly what to do. I called Catherine the next morning. I need to hire you, I said. I was wondering when you'd call, she replied. We filed 2 things that week. First, a motion for a temporary injunction and damages. Trespassing, destruction of property. Unpermitted construction. We included photos, the deed, the contractor's invoice, and the stop work order. Second, I listed the property for sale. I had the real estate agent photograph everything. The half-built pool, the torn-up garden, the piles of dirt. The listing went live on a Thursday morning. Unique fixer opportunity, it read. Unpermitted pool construction sold as is. Price to move. I set the price $20,000 below market value. I wanted it gone fast. That afternoon, I sat Daniel down. I'm selling the house, I said. You can support me or you can leave. But I'm done. He stared at me for a long time. And then he said the words I'd been waiting 3 weeks to hear. I'm sorry. I should have protected you. What do you need me to do? Call your parents, I said. Tell them to stay off the property. My lawyer will handle the rest. He nodded. The next morning, Linda and Ron received 2 things in the mail. A certified letter from Catherine's office, and a Zillow alert for their son's address. They called 16 times that day. I didn't answer once. The hearing was set for 2 weeks later. County Courthouse. Small Claims and Property Division Court. Judge Brennan presiding. Linda and Ron hired a lawyer. Some guy Ron knew from the Rotary Club. Catherine and I sat on one side. They sat on the other. Their attorney argued first. Your Honor, this is a family matter that's been blown out of proportion. My clients improved the property in good faith, believing they had the son's consent, who is married to the owner. There was no malice, no ill intent. They've invested nearly $60,000 in good faith. Judge Brennan looked bored. Does the son have ownership stake in the property? He asked. Their lawyer hesitated. No, Your Honor, but then he can't authorize construction. Next. Catherine stood. She pulled up the deed on the overhead projector. My name, sole owner, recorded 3 years prior, then the county permit records, 0 applications, then the contractor's invoice, $58,300, and then the text messages. I'd forgotten about those. But Catherine hadn't. She projected them on the screen. A thread between Linda and Ron from the week before construction started. Linda, once it's built, she'll cave. It's not like she can tear down a $60,000 pool. Ron, and if she tries, we'll contest the will. Undue influence is hard to prove, but it'll tie her up for years. The courtroom went silent. Judge Brennan looked at Linda and Ron, then at me. Motion granted, he said. Injunction in place. Defendant shall cease all construction and remove all personal property from plaintiff's land within 72 hours. Plaintiff is awarded $12,000 in damages for garden restoration and court costs. He banged the gavel. It was over in 11 minutes. We walked out into the hallway. Linda tried to talk to me. I kept walking. The property sold 9 days later. All cash. $15,000 over asking. The buyer was a retired landscape architect. She planned to fill in the pool and restore the garden. Linda and Ron had 72 hours to remove their furniture. They got nothing. Daniel and I used the sale money as a down payment on a smaller house across town. It's a modest place, 2 bedrooms, but it has a backyard, a small one, just enough for a garden. We planted the first rose bush together last month. We named it Eleanor. After my grandma. Daniel's in therapy now, learning to set boundaries, learning to say no. It's hard for him. He was raised to keep the peace, no matter the cost. But he's trying. And that's enough for now. As for Linda and Ron, they're still paying off that home equity loan. $58,000 at 6.5% interest. The pool they built was demolished by the new owner 4 weeks after closing. She filled it in, graded the soil, and planted native wildflowers where the tile used to be. Linda deleted the Facebook post. Too many people started asking questions. Ron and Linda don't speak to me. They barely speak to Daniel. They send him emails sometimes. Long, winding messages about how we humiliated them, how family is supposed to forgive. He doesn't respond. The extended family split. Some of them apologized. Daniel's sister, Melissa, stayed close. So did 2 of his cousins. The others? They chose Ron and Linda's version of the story. I don't blame them. People believe what's comfortable. But here's what I learned. You can love your family and still lock the gate. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. And you get to control who walks through. I didn't destroy that pool for revenge. I did it because they thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought being family meant I owed them access. To my space. To my inheritance. To my grief. They were wrong. Last week, Daniel and I sat in the new garden. The rosebush is small, but it's growing. He looked at me and said, "I'm sorry I didn't protect this the first time." I took his hand. "You're protecting it now," I said. "And that's enough. Now I want to hear from you. Would you have let them finish the pool? Or would you have stopped the construction on day one? What boundary would you set in this situation? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story meant something to you, hit that subscribe button. I post videos like this every week. Real stories, real boundaries, real outcomes. Share this with anyone who's ever been told, but they're family. When someone crossed a line they had no right to cross. Because family isn't an excuse. It's not a free pass. It's a relationship. And like every relationship, it requires respect. This has been a fictionalized dramatization and is not legal or financial advice. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.